try to describe everything that went on these last 3 years, it's almost impossible. You name an area of your life that you have loved and done for years, and then have this come upon you. You can't name everything that it has taken away from you.
She was the tomboy, and so she spent the most time with Daddy, meaning riding horses every day, water skiing. She was a very, very active little kid. She was the mascot for our high school. She was, Miss Popular, everything in school. She had tons of friends. Very vivacious, funny little kid.
Paula and I met at work 4 years ago. She's such a funny person to be around, and it was just a pleasure to work with her and talk with her and everything.
Paula had this fantastic job in the mid-cities, and she worked in a high-rise building, and she had a horrible accident one day, and I heard about it, and didn't really think it was life-changing. She hurt her shoulder badly, but, we're all resilient, and she certainly is resilient, and used to being very independent woman, so I didn't think this would set her back. So when it started to really set her back, it was a shock, that what do you mean you can't recover? What do you mean you can't work?
So I have what's called CRPS, and it's chronic regional pain syndrome. It's very rare, and there's no cure for it. It's a neurological issue. It is a pain that never stops, and the best way I can describe mine is if you put an ice pick right here, and you put one behind your shoulder blade, and it never stops. It never goes away.
Before she had the treatment, she was in a lot of pain. No matter where we went, what time of the day it was, her shoulder was excruciatingly painful for her. So it was difficult to be around a lot of people. It was difficult for her to hug people. So it was tough.
She is a remarkable, super strong lady. The pain that she endured during these past 3 years has been unbelievable. The doctors tried to have her take pain medication, and it didn't work for her. And she said, I can't do this. I can't take the pain medicine and not be myself. And I said, then don't take it. I said, you're better off not to. You can have your mind, watch movies, whatever. I know it's going to be boring, but at least you're going to be yourself too.
I couldn't lay flat. I couldn't even lay on my left side in bed, because if I was asleep, I'd roll over on it, and then I'm up screaming because it's that kind of pain. Never stops.
Well, we tried to go to the Arboretum a couple of years ago, and I picked her up and drove her to Dallas. The drive alone really disturbed the pain in her shoulder. It made her very uncomfortable. So by the time she got there, she wasn't able to keep up with everybody and walk the whole tour with us. She had to take a lot of breaks.
She would get an Uber and come to my house the day before an appointment with a doctor or with her attorneys. By this time, those were also in Dallas. So she was at my house often, and she would Uber over. It's a 45-minute drive, and she would come the day before, because by the time she made that drive, she could not speak. She couldn't have a conversation. She would be shaking. She would have to take a Xanax or all the different tons of medications they tried to give her to calm her down. Drink a little wine, whatever it took to calm her down, so that the next day she could face another 10-minute drive in a car. And I would drive her to the doctor, and the slightest dip in the road, the slightest turn to the left would throw her into spasms. And she would say, we'd have to just pull over, just stop the car and let her recover, and then start again. The pain was horrible.
I couldn't stand the motion of the car. I couldn't walk at a normal pace. I couldn't carry a glass of wine or a coffee cup in this hand.
There was no hugging, and I'm a hugger, so it was very hard, but it was worth it. I hung in there. She's my BFF.
And it's terrible to say, don't touch me. It is very, I feel like it's rude, but I can't help it. And it's incredibly depressing when you can't hug your children. I couldn't hug my grandchildren. I couldn't hug my sisters. I couldn't hug friends. I mean, it was like you couldn't touch me.
I had a party for my goddaughter's baby, and I did a sip and see, and I asked Paula to help me with the party at my friend's house. And these are friends that she's known 40 years. And she was sitting in a chair during the celebration in the back corner of the room with chairs beside her pulled out to the side. And I didn't notice it because I think it's normal for her. And all of my friends had no idea what was going on. And they said she totally isolated herself. She was so afraid of a friend coming over and saying hello that she blocked herself from the festivity. And this is the way she'd been living for 3 years. And I hadn't even recognized that part. It took other people to let me know just how obvious it was that her pain, she wore it like a piece of armor.
I've been through 2 major surgeries, 4 minor surgeries. You name a pill, they've tried it on me. But again, there's no cure for this. It's a very sad thing. So I researched any organization that was online, that was doing research for this condition, hoping to find something. There was a link on one of the organizations for Stemedix, quite frankly, and they were talking a lot about the stem cell and so forth. Stemedix is very proactive. They followed through with me, very patient over, seriously, almost 2 years because I couldn't get there.
My reaction to Paula's talking about doing stem cell was, are you crazy? You're nuts, right? And she goes, I've tried everything else and nothing has worked. And I have researched this, Peggy, trust me, from every single thing. You can ask me any question and I'll know the answer to it. And she did. She knew it all. And she was determined to do this. It was a matter of finding the funds for her to go ahead and have this taken care of. And I said, and you're sure you're not going to be in pain after this is over? And she said, there's no guarantee in life. But if I don't try it, I'll never know.
I scheduled with Stemedix in June and went and had the intravenous stem cell therapy.
I was still skeptical. I wanted to go with her because I was afraid, she's alone and having some kind of injection and all these things. Somebody should be there.
I got to Florida. When I flew out of DFW and landed in Florida, I was hysterical. The pain was unbelievable. Got to the hotel, hysterical. Calmed down. The next morning, Stemedix sent a driver for me and took me to the hyperbaric chamber facility. By the time I got there, I was crying. Went through the treatments twice the first day, twice the second day. Was crying when I got there, crying when I got back to the hotel. So that was Monday, Tuesday. Wednesday is when I actually went to Stemedix and I did the intravenous umbilical cord stem cell and the exosomes. That next day, on a Thursday, I went back and did another hyperbaric chamber dive. I was not crying when I got there. Went to the airport. This will make me cry. Went to the airport, got on the plane, landed at DFW. No tears. It has changed my life night and day. I cannot say enough good about what this therapy has done for me.
What's going on? She goes, well, I'm going to stay a few days after just to make sure it worked. And then she calls me, she goes, I'm home. And I went, home where? And she had felt so good that her elongated stay was over.
She came home on a Thursday and 2 of her 4 grandkids were coming the next day. These big, tall men that are grandkids. And so they were going to come to my house on Friday to go do some sightseeing in Dallas. And I hadn't seen her since she got back.
My grandchildren were here right after, and I'm talking, I was home a day from Florida, from Stemedix, and the next day my 2 grandsons came.
She came in the door, and I'm still afraid to get near her. And I opened the door and backed up. And she hugged me with both arms, full embrace. And my my jaw dropped. I was like, what are you doing? And she said, here I am. And it was instant recovery. I've never seen, it's like black and white. It's like she left on a Monday, in tears, in fear for what was going to happen, not knowing, not having been literally out in public in 3 years, afraid to see anyone. And she walked in the door and grabbed me with her arm. I will never forget that moment. And so, sorry. So we went places with the kids, and even her boys were like, they couldn't believe that their Lala, they call her Lala, was so totally recovered so quickly. And they were thrilled. So we just did everything. We went to lunch, and we went to the country club, we went to the Arboretum, and we went to the Perot Museum, and everything we could think of to do, because before we would go to the Arboretum or anywhere, after 3 minutes, she's having to sit down. And we continue, and she's just sitting there because she couldn't even, there's a crowd around her, and she couldn't stand to be near the people because someone's going to touch her arm. Someone's going to hurt her.
And they stayed with me for a week, and they were going, oh my God, Lala, you are peeling potatoes, chopping up vegetables. They were like, we can't believe, because they were, everybody in my family has been like, don't touch her, don't ask her to do this. And it's totally changed my life in a day. In 24 hours, it changed my life.
She was home. So we met up, and she goes, you have to hug me. And I went, oh, crap. And we hugged, and we hugged, and we hugged, and we hugged. And it worked. It works. Dear God, it works so perfectly. I love her to death. I'd be so lost without her. So thank you, stem cell people, for keeping my friend alive, because it was very hard mentally for her, mostly for her. And I tried to stay as strong as I could, keep her spirits up, but after I left her, I would always lose it, because it's not fair.
She's much more relaxed and seems to be a whole lot happier. And she's willing and able to hug people. So she's much better off since she had it done. Much more comfortable with everything that she does.
So had I not had this stem cell therapy, I would still be at home and not going anywhere. And that is very depressing. Not a suicidal day, but very dark. Wouldn't get off the sofa. Would not do anything. I wouldn't even eat some days, because it is that painful, and it's so hard to explain this pain.
Her face has changed because that pain is gone. It lifted her, the light came back into her eyes, the joy in her voice, everything changed.
She's the youngest of 4, I'm the oldest of 4. So growing up, we lived in the country, we had horses, we had sheep, we had cows, we were always outside doing things. So I know she's very, very active, and I think that now that she's had this done, she'll be able to be active like that again. Our niece has 2 or 4 horses, and I know Paula would love to ride again, and she hasn't been able to do that for a long time because it's so jarring to that shoulder.
But I'm gonna tell you something, is the best money I have ever spent in my entire life. I have projects I can work on, I have things I can do to move forward. I can travel. I can go back to, I can ride horses, I can play the piano again, I can garden, I can, anything that I want to do, I am capable of doing now. So it's the best thing I've ever done. I will be able to be social again and get out and, meet people. I'm starting a little home business that's going to get me out to different places and different seminars, if you please, just social gatherings. So, I'm ready. I'm so ready to get back busy. It's not even funny.
I would like to say thank you, Stemedix, for bringing my friend back to life, to a fabulous life.
I want to tell you that I have praise the name of Stemedix to everybody I know, everybody that knows Paula. Thank you for giving my sister back to me and giving her life back. It's world changing for my entire family.